But this lady comes over to us and says, I just want to ask a question because you guys look so in love. Are you guys married and cheating right now?
Yeah, she sure did. She sure did.
I was like, what the? Who asks people that? And it was so funny because I was like, oh my God, why does she think that? Because I had on my ring and you didn't. And I realized later, but we were so shocked and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's something I never even thought that you, I mean, I shouldn't be so concerned about what people think, but if I'm worried about judgment, it's like, okay, well now I look even worse because now I look like I got my ring on and I'm cheating.
Welcome to Couples Unfiltered, a podcast where we discuss love, loss, relationships, and the journey. I'm Lionel Salisbury.
And I'm Natalie Salisbury. Please keep in mind that these discussions are solely based on our opinions and our life experiences. So today it is just the two of us. And we decided to have a little chat about something that I find myself being asked quite often. When people get comfortable enough after they find out that I lost my first husband to cancer at such a young age, they often ask me, when did you know that it was time for you to move forward and start dating again and open yourself up to opportunities and, you know, in relationships with someone else? And when someone who has gone through what I've gone through asks me that, of course, I consider how it would relate to their situation. But sometimes it's the same answer when it's divorce or separation or even just like a breakup after a long period of time.
Right.
Especially the kind that you started out when you were super young. And then you evolved together and maybe went down different paths. So I want to talk about first the psychological kind of thing that you go through. And I had to do a little research on this when I was first, widowed. Because I know everyone says, oh, you should wait a year before you make any really serious decisions.
Now, was this people just saying this, or this is something that you
Well,
heard?
I did a lot of, kind of self-therapy.
Right.
Reading a lot of books. And a lot of the books that I read, they all generally said the same thing about, when someone dies and when your partner dies. But one of the things that stuck out to me the most was an American psychologist named Martin Seligman. And he talks about the 3 Ps that can stunt recovery after losing a partner. And it could be to death, divorce, or separation. And the 3 Ps are personalization, persuasiveness, and permanence. And so for personalization, it's the belief that we are at fault. Now, for the breakup or something we could have done to make things differently. Persuasiveness is the belief that an event will affect all areas of our lives. And permanence is the belief that the aftershocks of the event will last forever. And of course, that's exactly what I went through, right? That when you're in that moment, all you can think about is your future and how everything you do is affecting that. So as far as being ready, I don't know if anybody's ever like ready and then they go out and date, right? It's like it either comes to you or you get yourself ready and you get out there and it's nothing like you're expecting it to be. But there's all these things that happen, right? That so for me, I didn't even think about that because it wasn't something on my mind, and it was more of I found myself alone in situations where I was usually with my partner, and then I would have reactions from men where they were like, kind of, I don't know if you give off that energy or something that you're not with someone. But then I realized, oh my gosh, people are flirting with me.
Yeah.
Like, are they, like, I don't even know what that's like. And it's like such a strange feeling, right?
Yeah, have been in a relationship for so long, and then now you're kind of redefining to the rest of the world who you are.
Or even to yourself.
Yeah, to yourself.
But I know you have a different situation because your situation was not, the relationship didn't end with the death of your spouse.
Right. The relationship ended before she passed away. So, we were separated, and she and I were separated, and then you and I were getting to know each other. So there was no real space in between. There was no real kind of redefining who I am by myself.
Yeah, you were never like a single man.
Right.
I mean, you were, but technically you were.
Yeah, not in the sense of, you lost your husband and you had a year of figuring out who you're going to be. Now you're no longer the spouse of. Now you're figuring out, okay, who is Natalie?
Right. Well, it's like even just a trip to think I'm not even married anymore. Like as soon as your spouse is dead, I'm sorry to say those words so harshly, but you're not married anymore.
Right.
Your marriage is dissolved.
Yeah.
Legally, you become a widow. You're in a whole new classification of person.
But let's take a moment, and we're talking about relationships, and we're talking about the passing of relationships, and sometimes people would need help kind of getting to a particular space, whether they're still in a relationship or they just lost a spouse or something. So let's take a pause and let's talk about our sponsors, BetterHelp. Is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or if you're just a human who lives in a world who's going through a hard time, therapy can give you tools to approach your life in a very different way. And this is why we're excited to tell you about our sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. And this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding therapy easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. There's a link in the description. It's betterhelp.com/couples unfiltered. Clicking that link helps support this channel, but it also gets 10% off your first month of BetterHelp, so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a common thing, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. When I lost my first wife to a terminal illness, therapy helped me navigate my feelings, as well as help me communicate with my children about losing their mother. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/couples unfiltered. That's betterhelp.com/couples unfiltered. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for supporting this channel.
So when someone is gone out of your life, whether or not it's, like I said, from divorce, separation, death, however that goes, and that your partner's gone, everyone has this expectation of a certain amount of time that you're supposed to wait, right? So you have the fear of judgment from others, and depending on those reasons, that judgment can be classified in different ways, right? And then there's women who have children, and they have to worry about their children and considering how they leave that relationship, what kind of respect is left in that previous relationship, and also leaning into something new, or even just kind of getting to know who you are, there's this whole like process, right, of, oh, mommy's putting on more makeup today, or mommy's buying clothes, and why do you look so good? Why are you smiling? You know, why are you late?
Where have you been?
Yeah, like, what are you doing, Mom? So you have all these things you're dealing with, right? So you're just basically, you're going through the motions, you're getting up every day. For me, it was grief. So I was, realizing that regardless of what happened, time was moving.
Right.
My world stopped, but everybody else was just spinning around me, right? Yeah. So after a while, you're just like, okay, I'm getting dizzy here. I need to jump on the train of life, and I need to keep moving forward. And for me, going back to work and having adult conversation was like the thing I needed to do. But it was also nice to have conversations, like private conversations with someone that I didn't know, right? So we met at work, and of course, all the sadness and grieving aside, I still had to function. Yeah. And the thing that I found the best kind of experience for me was that I wasn't thinking about dating at all, obviously, but our friendship and how we interacted as friends and coworkers was so refreshing to me, because you didn't know me and I didn't know you, and you may have heard some things, right? Yeah. But the communication that we had together was literally like two strangers meeting for the first time, and we had so much in common, and we had such a common goal at work, and the things we were doing, we needed to work together. But it was like we were just getting to know each other without all the drama behind us.
That was probably the best thing. And I think, just, looking back, oh my goodness, that was some years ago. But looking back and reliving those moments, we went into a friendship without any of the expectations of, oh, she's fine or anything like that. It was just, let's get to know each other. I wasn't looking for anyone. You weren't looking for anyone. And we just got to be friends. We got to know each other.
Right. Without all the BS, trying to impress me with your personality, or trying to
flirt and all.
Yeah. Do the things that are fake, that it's like we were careful with each other. Yeah. Because you were careful with me. I didn't really know your story at that point. But you were really careful with me and just trying to be there, And I did have moments where I was vulnerable and talked to you about stuff, and maybe teared up a little bit in front of you every once in a while. But I was talking about my spouse, and and you were so receptive. But anyway, the point is that we were friends, and it was great, because I realized later, after we started dating, that is really an important thing to establish before you start dating again, because you're so vulnerable, right? You've just come out of a relationship where the person who knew you the best isn't there anymore for you like that. And we always talk about how, your parents know you to a certain extent, right. Then you get to a certain age and you move out, and then they don't know this adult version of you so well anymore. They kind of have that kid in mind when they talk about knowing you.
Yeah, of course.
So the next person that would know you is maybe your best friend or your sibling, right? But your partner, your intimate partner, is the one who really knows you. So when you lose that person, however that happens, that's like you've lost half of you.
Oh, that was such a major thing for me, because you gotta take into account, we didn't just leave the parents' house. We left the country. She and I met in boot camp. We left the country. We were in Japan, and it was just us.
Yeah.
So imagine being in a space where you don't really know anybody except for that person that you're with. And we continue to do that. So that's why I really take stock in that, knowing that nobody knew me better than she did.
So you go through all these things, right? Like where you're like, okay, so they defined who I was. They were my mirror.
Yeah.
They were the person to tell me, whether I liked it or not, how things really were or how things should be.
Right.
So now you're off on your own, like, who tells me this now?
I know.
What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? And so you're just kind of grasping at straws to try to figure out who you are, which is, I think, is a very important step.
Yeah.
You know, and your transition into our relationship, even though you weren't alone and single, you were getting to know yourself again through the eyes of someone new, which hasn't happened for you, you know, in a very long time, right? And it was the same for me. Like, I don't remember who I was before I met Greg, because I was like a teenager, you know? So I don't really remember who I was. I remember details of, you know, how sassy I was and the things I liked and things I didn't like, but I changed. You know, I evolved in that relationships of 26 years of marriage. I evolved. So it was like, now I have to figure myself out. Like, what do I like?
Right.
How can I even see myself with another man, right? In my house, living with me, because I'm not dating for excitement or, you know, short term. If I'm going to date somebody, I'm going to date for permanent, right? For
dating for a purpose.
Right. And even though, like I said, that wasn't on my mind, but I still had to have these thoughts. Like, these thoughts came to my mind. And so when we are in that space of being ready, I feel like it feels like, you know, you're eager for this new normal. Like, you're excited for a new normal.
Yeah.
And however that looks to you, it always is going to involve some smiling and some laughter and some, you know, enjoyment, right? And I really did. I wanted to feel like myself again. It was just something kind of subconscious, but yet it was also reinforced by some of the things I was reading and listening to, and therapy and all of that. So
I think about that, and I distinctly remember when I started to realize I need to start looking out for myself, and I need to start like seeing myself. And you'll be surprised what going to the store and, say, buying a pair of shoes will do. I remember doing that. I remember the moment where I knew that I'm separated. I am alone. I am by myself. I went to the store and I bought 2 pairs of shoes. Nobody telling me, hey, those look good on you, those don't look good on you, I don't like the color. It was just, no, this is what I want.
yeah.
I want this for me. And that was a very eye-opening moment.
Yeah, little things like that.
Right.
But it's huge.
It is.
Individually, we all go through some sort of experience like that.
Right.
Now, as a female, or I should say as a mother, I had my kids in my head constantly, right? So I didn't want to bring a man around them because they were at the ages at home. You know, the kids I have at home were at the ages where they would have been confused by any kind of energy that might have been similar to the energy I had with their dad.
Right.
So I was constantly worried about whoever it was that I was going to meet. Would they be worthy of my children? And would they be worthy of me?
Yeah.
Not would my kids like him.
Right.
You know, I was like strong, independent Black woman status. I was like, nope, nobody's going to want to use me for anything. I'm wide awake and I'm not vulnerable to the point where I'm going to make stupid decisions.
Right.
Although people were worried about me.
Of course.
Which, you know, I appreciated that.
And that's what any good friend, any good family member should do. They should be concerned when a dramatic change happens in somebody's life. They should have an eye on that individual.
Especially when they start seeing signs of happiness, right?
Right.
Because here I was sad, and I'm supposed to be, right? I'm supposed to be sad, and I'm supposed to show that sadness so that everyone else can see it. I'm supposed to be reserved in how I display my readiness.
Yeah.
And what people didn't realize is that, you know, when you're married for a long time, you go through ups and downs in your relationship, but you also get to points where you aren't feeling exactly the same as you felt when you first got married. Things happen. And I had 6 years of Greg being sick and grieving. I grieved for 6 years before he died. And that part of it was a process of me saying, this man's not going to be here one day. Mm-hmm. And I was getting myself ready for that for 6 years,
and you were, although people were around, you were doing it every minute of every day.
Every day. And quietly.
Yeah.
I
people
wasn't
could
talking.
Come and go and I'm going to come visit and I'm going to come take care of whatever during this particular time. But you were in it every day.
Yeah.
So they don't know. Nobody knows what you went through.
Right. And it's not like I could stop it. I was trying to protect myself. Yeah. It was me putting up a wall, right? To say, if I keep putting up walls, then the blow won't be so hard. Mm-hmm. And so I'll be ready, right? And I have to say that it did help me get to a point of, the reality of what happened was something I couldn't change. And there wasn't anything I could have done differently. But I had to accept that, however long that took. That was part of the journey, is accepting that I couldn't change anything, right? So when we talk about the changes in your feelings and how to kind of anticipate this, because it shocks you no matter what. Mm-hmm. You kind of get slapped in the face. Yeah. I remember the day that I had a light bulb go on and I realized, oh my God, I think I have feelings for this guy. And it was so shocking because it was such a foreign feeling. And I had to like kind of put all these feelings together. And it was, what is the definition of the feelings that you have when you like someone in a way that's romantic, right? Mm-hmm. It's like companionship, conversations, learning new things about someone, feeling understood and being seen by someone. Yeah. That breathing, like I feel like I could breathe again around you. Like when you were around, I took deep breaths and I felt like it was relaxed and peaceful. And the fact that when you hear someone's intentional, purposeful dialogue with you that involves admiration and respect, it's like, that's it. That's the thing that I'm missing.
Yes.
That's the thing I need. And I say in our episode 1, our origin story, you were feeding my soul. And so that's the moment when I realized, this is it. I'm ready for this because this is what I need. And it was a trip. But then you go into the whole, oh gosh, now I got to try to talk myself out of this wonderful thing because it's not right. It's not time.
Or because of what other people may think.
Yeah, the fear of the judgment.
Yeah. Who's seeing this change? Who is really willing to accept what I'm accepting? Like, are you my people? Are you gonna support me? And it's difficult when you have these outside people, not outside, but they're, family, friends that have been there. They've seen everything about the relationship from the outside, and now you start to change.
Yeah, they go from like pitying me to
like, what's going on?
You sure about this guy? Yeah. You need me to do a background check?
I know. Like, did you Google him?
Yeah.
Did you?
And he's still married, but he's separated. And, it's fine.
A lie.
Like,
it's
I get it.
I
expect that. Yeah. I expect that. Like, if people didn't do that, I think I would be like, dang,
I think
y'all don't care that I might be going down the path of destruction.
Well, I think I would have questioned your friends if your friends weren't like on me.
Yeah, you had to go through a lot, and I think I even warned you about that. I have a best girlfriend, Jana, and I told you were actually more afraid to meet Jana than anybody in my family.
Anybody else, yeah. even Greg's sister and Greg's mother and Greg's children.
Yeah,
it was her. She was the one, and it was Mother's Day weekend. It was Mother's Day weekend, and Jana brought her sister-in-law, who is, I I'll just say she carries a badge on her. So
Yeah.
So she's like, yeah, we're gonna meet this guy and we're gonna see. Let's do the lie detector. Let's check his pulse. Let's see if anything is.
She had this straight face, and so we would joke around and be talking, and then she'd turn around and go, "So Lionel," and then ask you like a serious question, totally like, you know, what do you call it? Not interviewing, but interrogating you.
Yeah. But I think if your friends weren't like that, then you kind of question. I would question your character. I'm like, who are you surrounding yourself with?
Yeah.
Because they're a reflection of who you are. So,
well, in hindsight, I appreciate all of them. But I do remember feeling like, do y'all think that I'm so stupid that I don't think that I need to be extra careful? Or who do you think I am to not be judgmental of the person who I'm bringing in my kids' lives? You know, it's like I'd feel some kind of way at first, like, how stupid do you think I am? Or like, do you think I'm so riddled with grief that I can't think straight? But yeah, a lot of people are.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people do make big mistakes in that first year.
Yeah.
Because you have this feeling in the back of your mind, like, okay, my life has changed. It's, you know, not like what I thought. I have no control. Screw it. I'm just going to do whatever makes me happy.
Right.
And you think in the moment that that's the right thing to do. But I was very strategic, I have to say, in a lot of the choices that I made, because I was patient with and the first time in my life that I was actually patient with anything, I was patient with my process, because I have this thing where I cannot go to bed at night knowing that I didn't make a decision that was appropriate for me and the people around me. And I don't like to regret anything. And so I kind of live my life with this whole, like, everything I do, I don't want to regret that I made that decision. Yeah. So let me really make that decision very carefully, right? And it's a little bit of a stressful way to be, but
it works.
I sleep at night, and lately it's not been the easiest thing to do. To sleep at night, and that's just for other reasons. But anyway, back to the point of finally getting to the place where you feel happy and joy, and you feel like, oh my gosh, like, is this what love feels like again? And you know, you're unsure. Then there goes this whole sabotage process, right, where you want to pick out the little things that are wrong. Because you don't believe that something this good could be happening to you. So you start doubting everything. And you start listening to the people who are maybe telling you negative things.
Right.
And I remember that, you know, I had a lot of things going on besides just that Greg had just passed. You know, I'm worried about my kids, and I'm worried about my financial future, and I'm worried about, you know, the whole single mother thing. I also had an aging parent that I had to be concerned about.
Right.
So how is this new person in my life going to be there for my aging parent? And all the things I have to do, all the sacrifices that I'm going to have to make for my aging mother. What if she has to live with us?
Yeah.
What new person's going to come in my life and be okay with my mother who's got dementia and says some pretty wild things here and there? How are you going to deal with that? Oh. Like, you know, so to me, my list of standards and my priorities were so untouchable that I was sabotaging myself, because, of course, I prayed every night for whoever was coming into my life to be a certain type of person.
Right.
But those lists just, they go out the door, because what God did for me was he gave me more than I asked for. You know, my list was small. His list was long. And he gave me...
Well, you had a pretty substantial list.
I did.
Because I saw
I did. But God put things on my list I didn't know I needed.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like your figurative sales pitch to me, was that you showed me things I didn't know I needed. Yeah. And of course, you're a unicorn, and I know not everybody's going to have this experience, but the fact that I felt safe with you and the conversations that we had and the friendship, it was very important that we started out with this friendship that didn't involve butterflies.
Yeah.
I felt no butterflies with you. Right. It was just this peaceful connection. And it was like I trusted you. I felt safe with you. We connected. And then, like I said, the light bulb went on. Right. So then you have to ease into it all, right? You still have to, get past the point of, okay, I feel these feelings. And, now what do I do? Now what do I do?
Right. It was, just backtracking a little bit, it was extremely refreshing to just have conversations with somebody who grew up in the same time frame as I did.
Yeah, we are 2 years and 2 days apart.
2 years and 2 days.
You did say 2 months.
I did say. 2 years, 2 days. And we're both Scorpios. So it was nice to be able to have that connection. Music, we grew up on good music. We grew up on good television programming. So for us to be able to connect on some of those things.
We finished each other's sentences.
I know,
with
we know
lines from shows and music.
which is really, it was really good. It was extremely refreshing. And then there was a shift. Mm-hmm. And the shift came and it was like, I think I'm in trouble right now because it's as if I just met a high school sweetheart, or we went through all of these generational things in conversation, and then we ended up in this space where I'm falling in love. I'm in a space where I need this person in my life, and it was so genuine, and it just seemed extremely pure.
Yeah, we started dating after we figured out we were in love with each other.
Yeah.
Which was the most bizarre thing, right?
Well, it was something that had to happen in the way that it was supposed to happen. Everything is in God's timing. Mm-hmm. And for me, I might have not shown it, but I was so afraid. It's tough to have been in a relationship where you have to tell your person, you have to tell your best friend, we can't do this anymore.
Right.
We've been trying and it's not working. And to walk away from that, and like I said, it can be looked at as if it's failure.
Yeah.
And to be able to have feelings come up again, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
It is absolutely terrifying. And you just I had to trust in God, and I had to trust my gut. And that's why I came up with that whole thought of living without skin. I'm willing to be hurt for this experience. Well, I don't know what the future holds, but I'm in it. I'm along for the ride.
You got, you had this first moment of accepting that your relationship was dissolved with Nick, and you guys decided to remain in the home. And you guys actually had that conversation that, we are legit separated. Yeah. And I think you took your ring off, right? While you were still in the house?
Yes. Oh, man. So, yeah, we sat down. Oh, wow. I remember this. We sat down on the bench at the edge of the bed, and we had the conversation about, separating. We were separated, but we kept our rings on, and we sat down and we came to the conclusion that, no, this is it. And we removed our rings, and she asked me to promise her to keep my ring for my son, to pass my ring on to my youngest son, and she wanted to pass her ring on to our oldest son. And she asked if we would keep them. And I gave her my word. Yeah, absolutely. And still, to this day, but after she passed, I kept the rings. and I still have them. So
Yeah.
I'm waiting for either boy to propose to their significant other
If they want those.
if they want them. But I mean, they have to have them. It's up to them to decide if they they want to keep them, but they have to have them.
Yeah. But then you guys decided also that you would not be involved with each other's personal choices, and
yeah, we was fine. That was fine in theory. She started dating someone in the in the chef world. Of course, I mean you're working close together, so she started dating someone, and it was okay. I was absolutely fine with it. But when she found out that I was dating, that was a whole different story. She was not happy at all.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's something that's hard to understand. It's hard to really grasp.
Well, I think that it was clear to me also that as a female, I don't want the person that I'm interested in intimately to be in a position of having to live with their, legally married to their spouse and still living with them. But also I knew that the respect that I would have wanted if I was her would not be it wasn't comfortable that you were still living there. Even though a lot of the reasons that you stayed there were logistical and needed at the time. But I just want to talk about once we decided that we were ready and we had feelings for each other and that discovery was made, that other things in our lives needed to change, right? And some of those things for me, well, for you it was moving out, and for me it was going through that cleaning out the closet phase. And I decided that despite the fact that there was photos of Greg everywhere in the house, my bedroom was not going to be the place where I kept the photos of us, so that I would have no visual recollections of our wedding or, things that were relationship related. Because the only way for me to be accepting of a new relationship with a new man, I mean, the fact that you would come to my home eventually and we would be in my bedroom eventually, that I needed to not feel like I was betraying him.
Right.
And I didn't want to look up and see pictures of us on our wedding day while we're sitting in our room watching TV, in my bedroom watching TV, or in my bedroom, getting to know each other or whatever, this situation. But so that was another step for me. And that last step for me was taking my ring off. And for me, it was not simple, because for you in divorce and separation, it's kind of like, that's expected. You're divorced,
you're
and you're
a specific door,
right? Both of you together,
collectively, you're closing the door.
Yeah,
there wasn't somebody else there with you to help you close that door.
Right. I'm trying to walk through the door, and somebody slammed it right in front of me. They slammed it in my face. So I have to make that choice to take off my ring, and when to take the ring off is a whole nother situation, because when you do it, I mean, now you can move it to the other hand, right? I did that for a while, and I even put it around my neck for a while. And I feel like you look like a widow when you do that, right? Because everybody knows what a wedding ring looks like, right? And the wedding ring looks like obvious. You can't wear it on your right hand. You look like a widow, which I don't know. I just didn't want any more questions. And when we were out on dates, I had my ring on, and it's like, we look like we had a lady who come up to us once. Oh my gosh, do you remember this?
We were down in San Diego.
Yeah, we were down in San Diego at the Dana.
Yep.
And we were hanging out outside, and you were like whispering sweet nothings in my ear and looking all in love and all of that. And I'm not a proponent of PDA, so I was not You know, I was not down with that.
Still
but anyway,
to this day.
yeah, no PDA. And so you were just being so sweet, and I don't know what we were doing, but this lady comes over to us and says, I just want to ask a question because you guys look so in love. Are you guys married and cheating right now?
Yeah, she sure did. She sure did.
I was like, who asks people that? And it was so funny because I was like, oh my God, why does she think that? Because I had on my ring and you didn't. Mm-hmm. And I realized later, but we were so shocked. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's something I never even thought that you, I mean, I shouldn't be so concerned about what people think, but if I'm worried about judgment, it's like, okay, well now I look even worse because now I look like I got my ring on and I'm cheating. Oh, or you don't have your ring on and you're disrespecting your wife or whatever. So, so that's a whole interesting process that you need, you know, that everyone's gonna go through.
When is the right time?
Yeah, I don't know.
And I mean, I remember us having that conversation. And I gotta say, as we had that conversation, it was as if I was a friend only. Like I was a friend of the both of you, a friend of yours and a friend of Greg's, because I had to move aside how I felt about you and really take every emotion into consideration. Yeah. Because it represented 26 years of a relationship with your person. Yeah. And you confided in me to discuss, when is it time? Is it time for me to really, really move on?
Yeah, and you had to be patient with me because I was like, this is wrong, you know? And so even when we were dating, I didn't want to go anywhere that Greg and I had ever been together. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to go anywhere that reminded me of stuff that we did. I didn't want to go anywhere where anybody might know me and see me with you. Mm-hmm. It was such a weird experience, right? Because I didn't want to have those conversations with people. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to introduce you to anyone as like whatever you were at the time, because what if it didn't work out? Exactly. You know, and so I'm like, here I am risking all of this new experience I'm having, and I'm sharing it with everyone else by them seeing this. I can't really talk about it to people because I'm not sure, you know, I'm not sure if this is going to work out. And, you know, and I wanted to create, if this did work out, I wanted to create new experiences with you because I wanted to be able to look back on the things we did as our first time, both of us, you know, having these first times. I remember asking you every time we went to go eat, or you would recommend a restaurant, and I'm like, well, you've been there before? Who were you with when you were there before? And it wasn't because I was jealous and didn't want to, you know, wanted to be like special. It was that I didn't want those memories to get mingled. Exactly. I didn't want those memories. I wanted new memories, and I wanted those memories with Greg to stay with Greg. Yeah. And I wanted to be able to have those clearly in my mind. That's where I was with him. I don't want to fog those memories up with new memories with you.
That's why we won't go to Paris together.
Yeah, I don't do the Eiffel Tower. I won't do the Eiffel. We went to France, but we didn't go to Paris.
We went to Nice, and Nice is ours. Yeah. So
we're gonna buy Nice.
We're gonna buy Nice.
Okay. No. So you guys need to subscribe on YouTube,
like,
Couples Unfiltered,
follow,
so we can buy Nice. No. But anyway. Finding personal strength, gaining appreciation, forming deeper relationships, discovering more meaning in life, seeing new possibilities is the 5 stages of post-traumatic growth. And I feel like that I was able to say...
Give it one more time, please. Run that one more time.
Okay, so the 5 stages of post-traumatic growth, which is kind of... what you have to go through when you know you're ready to move forward. It's finding personal strength, gaining appreciation, forming deeper relationships, discovering more meaning in life, and seeing new possibilities. If you can get there, I think that's kind of the definition of you being ready to move forward.
I think so.
And finding strength together, because, finding another partner in you didn't erase my grief, right? But I can still miss him and be with you, but you were so secure in yourself that you were allowed to let me grieve, and you were able to help me through that grieving process. And that's what was one of my biggest attractions to you, is that you were allowing me to do that. Mm-hmm. And that was a very secure and safe place to be. So women, men out there, if you guys are dating someone after you've lost a spouse or divorced or separated, if that person does not allow you to talk about your partner, however it is, hopefully it's respectfully, but if they don't allow you to talk about the pain and the grief that comes with that, then you need to second guess the type of person that you're with.
You really do.
Because that is a huge part of the process going forward and falling in love again and opening yourself up to that. And I didn't know it at the time, because I was lucky enough and blessed enough to have had somebody the first time around. I never got to go through a bunch of BS relationships before I found this one. And that was God's blessing. But that's not something I take for granted. Yeah. And there's not very many strong people out there that can listen to your partner talk about your partner you just left. I mean, we're all sad about the memories and the things that have happened. Even if it was rough, the relationship, a lot of good things may have happened in between because you were there. Yeah. And that was who you are, right? So if you were there, those are memories, your memories, and right. They may be good memories, and you have to share those memories. Have to. And I know it's harder when the person is present in the world, because you have to, our people aren't here. Mm-hmm. So we don't have a person to be jealous of, right? And there's no person to kind of come in and cause drama mm-hmm. or interfere with right. your relationship, or that you still have to see because you have kids together. I know that that's something different, but it is still something that your new partner should understand, that if you need to talk about it, that should be the person that you talk to.
No, absolutely. Like just the other day, this last week, and all day I just had this feeling. I don't know what the feeling was, and there was so much going on that day. I mean, work stuff, city stuff. And when I came home, I had a realization. I actually looked at the date on a piece of paper, mm-hmm. and I realized that it would have been my wedding anniversary with Nick.
Yeah, I remember that.
And you're always so willing to allow me to share these things, and vice versa. I think it's important that we don't forget that those folks help create who we are mm-hmm. today. So
you can't just stop thinking
no,
about them.
You can't.
So you're thinking about them in secret?
I know, right?
Or you're calling your friends and crying about this thing, or you talk to the person who's right next to
yes.
you and who actually cares about you, and you should be able to trust and feel safe talking about that person. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean that if they're present and alive still that you're going to run back to them.
Right.
It's just you have moments and you have emotions, and you need to have those emotions. You need to share that stuff, mm-hmm. because either way, it's if you bottle it up, it's going to make you sad, and you're going to lie about the reason you're sad, or but it's also to not compare the person to your current person, right? Mm-hmm. If you have these conversations, maybe it'll give them some insight to your fears and your the things that you don't want to happen again, or even reflecting on who you were with them, right. and how you're trying to be better, or you're trying to change. And yeah, that dialogue, I feel like, is something that's missing. It's like an obvious thing that's missing mm-hmm. with our people. So that's something that happened for us, unfortunately, through death. Mm-hmm. And it seems safer to talk about the person who's passed. But I think we do it so respectfully. And, we're honest. There's a lot of things that were good, a lot of things that weren't so good. We're still honest with each other. But the fact that you give me that space and I give you that space because I respect your journey before we met. Yeah. And I think that makes the respect between the two of us so much better, so much more important.
Absolutely.
Poignant.
And I think with not having those particular insecurities has helped us as well. I always think, and it's probably maybe once or twice a year, because we have this thing about us where we have to reorganize and get rid of things and make sure that, things are in their proper place. And we go through the garage and we pull down our Costco yellow and black bins and we set them down and we grab some wine and we sit in the garage and we tell stories about where we were at this time with our spouse. We pull out these pictures and we pull out books and clothing items and all of these things to be able to tell the story.
Yeah.
And we get to share that story. And it's so, I think those stories are so important because there's, we got together in our 40s. So there's a whole long list of things that were done.
Yeah, we don't just talk about I have this Girl Scout ribbons I got when I was 12. It's like, look at my kids were here the whole time we were married. Right. Look at all these things we did together. It wasn't like me showing you bedroom pictures of me and Greg.
Right. It's the same. It's just, this was this event and these are these family members and this would happen this day. This was a really good day because X, Y, and Z happened, or this wasn't a good day because this happened. And it tells me the story of Natalie. And not just Natalie, but Natalie and Greg and Natalie and the kids and, the extended family members.
Yeah, because it's the evolution of who I am today, right? The person you are meeting right now was based on all of those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that is an extremely important thing that you and I do.
Yeah, we cry. We cry together.
We do.
Like I watch you look at letters that she used to write you when you were deployed. Yeah. And things like that, and you would cry, and it's like it's a trip because I'm like, oh my God, that's so great. Like I'm watching you have emotions about something I don't understand. Right. And it's making me get to know you. That's the trip.
Well, not just to get to know me, but we get to know them. We get to know them.
Yeah, I want to know what kind of person she was at every moment of your relationship because I might agree with her on a lot
stuff that
was not so great about you.
Yes.
Or I
was like, you were an idiot. You should
have. I might be like, sister wife. I don't know, But I have to say, I am not over Greg's death, but I'm the happiest that I've ever been at the same time. And allowing myself to love again has made me gain confidence, self-esteem, and it's expanded my identity. Yeah. You are now mirroring something different for me. And anyway.
And I have to echo those words because I still mourn Nick, and I miss my friend. But I am the happiest that I've ever been, and not just being happy, but you have pushed me to a whole nother level. You have encouraged me in ways that I could have never experienced. And you elevate me. You elevate the person that is here today. You encourage me to continue to be the very best person, the very best version of myself. And it's evident. And I know that it's evident in our relationship, but what you do to me allows other people to benefit as well. Because I'm the very best person that I could possibly be, and I'm still growing, I'm still learning, I'm still expanding and we get to expand our brand together. The Lionel and Natalie that is here today.
Now I need to call my dentist because I think I have a cavity. All this sugar. No. Yeah, no, it's been an interesting journey. Mm-hmm. But I really hope that others can, hear this and know that wherever they are in their journey, separate from their partner, or even if they're just on a single journey, when the time is right, it's when you know it. No one else can tell you when it's time, and their expectations don't matter. Mm-hmm. It's whatever you feel, and you shouldn't have to fight it if it's something that you feel that's good. Just do some heavy self-work and getting to know who you are and thinking things through and being patient, and things will come when they're supposed to come in God's timing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're hurting and whatever you're feeling, fall in love with you first, and everything else will come.
Yeah. So I have to reference a quick website. There's a book written by Sheryl Sandberg. She used to be the CFO of Facebook, but she lost her husband, and it was the first book that I read after Greg passed away, and it was called Option B, and that book has turned into a little bit of a movement. So optionb.org is a place you can go to get some information about, grieving, and it's particularly about grieving your spouse, but there's some resources there. But also, if anyone wants to chat about that process, that's something that I'm willing to do, just to share my experience and my feelings about it. It's not the same for everyone, but
as am I. I know a lot of times, and I'm not judging or anything, but a lot of times men have a problem being vulnerable or sharing, and I hope that I can be an example of being able to share. So. Yeah. Well, thank you for being a part of Couples Unfiltered. This is just the two of us today. I thought it was important to have this conversation.
But we'll be back with some couples.
Yeah.
And it'll be exciting, and we've been running into a lot of people that have some really interesting stories. So if you think you have an interesting story and you're willing to talk about it and be vulnerable and you both agree, we'd love to hear it. So reach out to us at couplesunfiltered333@gmail.com, or you can send us a DM at our Instagram page at couples_unfiltered. And we are on YouTube and TikTok and, all those wonderful things.
Yeah, please go to the website, couplesunfiltered.com.
Yeah, subscribe on YouTube, please. Please subscribe. Go watch the video and then hit your subscribe button, because this is how we can keep bringing these podcasts to you guys. It's really important that we acknowledge our followers, and we're trying to create a community here. So it's important if you could just subscribe and like and share.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Bye.